Morning, how are you today?
Fine, thank you. Fine.
Jolly good. Okay, right, we're going to do some work about fitness today. So what do you know about fitness? Ted?
If we weren't fit, we'd be unhealthy.
Yeah, unhealthy. What can you do to be fit? What are the sort of things you can do to be fit? Savannah?
Exercise.
Exercise, okay?
The most important thing to consider when setting up a learning platform is bring your staff with you. You have to involve them from day one. You have to ask them what they want. You have to ask them how they want it delivered, and you also have to ask the students.
Have a read, see if there's any you agree or disagree with. If there's something you agree or disagree with, you might put a comment that's in reply to that, so you start to have a discussion with that person about their ideas. Okay?
One of the problems we had with using online resources was that there were only a couple of people in the school that could actually publish things online. And what we wanted was that so that every teacher in the school had the ability to publish their own resources online easily and quickly. So we created Schoolbuk so that teachers could blog useful websites that they'd found, or little bits of information that students could use whilst they were doing their work.
What I want you to do as your little starter activity is I've put an article on my blog. Now it's been in the news quite recently and I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but I want you to read the blog. And then I've put some questions at the end, and in the comments section I want you to write your thoughts about what the article says. Right, go on then, off you go.
It's quite important in science to relate it to something that's in the news whenever possible.
Okay, so you need to write that down as well, because this is obviously the government telling us that, and I want your opinions if you think it's a problem in the school that you're in. So then
I wanted them to form an opinion about it. They could then read and respond to the other students' opinions, forming a discussion. One of the features of the learning platform that students can access it whenever and wherever they want, as long as they've got an internet connection. We did the main activity where we imagined we were in a supersized school and everybody was completely unhealthy.
if you're going to do a PowerPoint, you can make it into like a little movie sequence if you want.
And they had to come up with some way of turning that school around, and they could do it in any medium they wanted to.
That explains a lot. Last question. Do your parents encourage healthy eating?
Yeah, she always says take a banana or apple out.
Right, girls, when you think you've got an idea of how well you think they've done, you can go back onto my blog and can you write a comment of how well you think they've done. What I would like you to do for your homework is I want you to read those comments that people have put about your work, and I want you to try and go away and do one improvement on your piece of work that you could do. Ready for next lesson.
Every student has a workbook and they can create as many workbooks as they need to. Workbooks can be either personal or they can share those with other people so that you can get collaborative working.
Me and my friends sort of ask each other for help if we need it, and then if they need help then I'd help them, and then if I need help then they'll help me.
Schoolbuk provides a social networking element, and we use this so that students can control what their friends can see, and it stops bullying in that if you're not in someone's social network you can't email them, you can't make a comment on their blog. A teacher can add a student to their students list, and it then allows them to go into a blog post or a workbook page and leave comments, and the social network list allows them to keep track of all of those changes that the students are making. What we've done recently is assign students into groups so that you can keep track of them as a class or as a project group or however you want to.
After the lesson, I can access it wherever it's convenient for me. I can see it in the staff room, I can go home, I can see it flicking through the comments that students have made, making my own comments on particular pieces of work that they've done.
We wanted to be able to store things more permanently, so we came up with the idea of workbooks for teachers. A teacher could create a workbook that provides all of the resources and information they need for one of the courses that they're teaching. We've had a few instances where students have been excluded from school for various reasons, or they've been ill and they've still been able to keep up with their studies because the information is all available online. Once a teacher's created a workbook that they're quite pleased with, it's finished, they can publish it into the library under a set of categories. A teacher can make a workbook public so that any student can see it, but they have to know where to look. It just makes it much easier for students to find what they're looking for.
Activity 1, you've got to select 2 poems and you've got to create a spider diagram or picture diagram to describe the content and themes.
We wanted our learning platform to be accessible on any device so that the students can access it with whatever they've got. The computers that we give the students, or the computers they've got themselves, or indeed their mobile phones.
So what I'd like you to do is go to your calendar, and I want you to think of a day next week when you can do those two activities.
The iPod project is for students that aren't reaching their full potential. In Year 11, we've given them an iPod Touch, and we're delivering a study skills programme to help them to improve the way they study and their attitude to their studying in general. So we're not just looking at the technology to improve the work they produce. I'm looking at the technology as a motivational tool to encourage students to engage with their teachers, to become more proactive.
We can do all of our homework on the iPods, but we don't, because we like to give a break from our iPods and practice our handwriting and that on our homework skills.
Part of the reason that I can use the iPod Touches successfully as an education tool is because the learning platform works perfectly well on the iPod Touches, meaning that resources can be pushed to students, students can access their blogs and, write on them from their iPod Touches. The criteria we're using to see whether the project has been a success or not is 6 weekly reports on their academic grade, but they also, the teachers judge their work ethic, how they work as a group, their completion of homework, and then the students write a reflective blog about how they're finding the use of the iPod Touches. It's been highly effective. The work they're producing on the iPods is fantastic.
Every new year group, all the Year 7s, get this brand new portable laptop that's touchscreen and all that. But I will reckon the iPods will take them over because they're smaller, they'll do the same stuff basically.
And you can have a look at that, and then can you post a comment for me about what you think of it, yeah?
It's really important that students have a media-rich way to work. They're in a media-rich environment, and that's how they're learning. And we've got to use some of those in education to enhance what we're doing.